Two simple words can make a woman lean in closer, without you raising your voice, without you bragging, without you chasing, and most men never realize it. Let's be honest, folks. You've probably been told to be confident, be direct, be alpha. Maybe you tried compliments, maybe you tried being mysterious, maybe you tried explaining your intentions clearly so she knows you're serious. And what happens? She's polite, she responds, but something is missing. The conversation feels flat. There's no electricity, no lingering tension after you walk away. She doesn't replay the moment in her mind. Here's why. Most men talk to inform. Older, experienced men talk to trigger emotion. Attraction is not built on facts about your life. It's built on how she feels when she's around you, the images you create, the curiosity you spark, the subtle sense that something just shifted in the air. And the shift often comes down to two words that activate her imagination, two words that add weight to what you say, two words that quietly separate a man who tries from a man who understands. In this video, I'm going to break down what those words are, why they work on a psychological level, and how to use them without sounding rehearsed or manipulative. You'll see how they create tension, build authority, and leave a trace in her mind long after the conversation ends. This isn't about tricks, it's about precision. Let's get into it. Number 1. Most men speak too much. Let's start with something simple, folks. Most men lose attraction not because they say the wrong thing, but because they say too much. They explain too much. They qualify too much. They fill silence too quickly. And every extra sentence lowers tension. Here's what usually happens. A man meets a woman he's interested in. He feels that spark. And instead of slowing down, he accelerates. He talks about his career in detail. He explains why he's different from other men. He lists his hobbies. He clarifies his intentions. He believes more information equals more connection. But attraction doesn't grow through information. It grows through emotion. Let me give you a real scenario. Daniel is 57, a financial advisor in Boston, divorced, stable, intelligent. He meets Laura, 52, confident, socially active, sharp-minded. On their first date, Daniel wants to impress her, so he talks about his investments, about his travel history, about lessons learned from his divorce. He even explains what he's looking for in a relationship. Laura listens politely. She nods. She smiles. But there's no tension. Why? Because Daniel left nothing for her imagination. When a man over-explains, he removes mystery. When he fills every silence, he removes space. And space is where desire forms. Now compare that to a subtle shift. Instead of explaining his entire story, Daniel could pause. When Laura asks about travel, instead of listing destinations, he might say, "There's one place that completely changed how I see the world." Then stop. That pause invites curiosity. She asks, "Where?" Now she's leaning in. Most men talk to prove. Experienced men speak to trigger. The more you talk, the more predictable you become, and predictability lowers attraction. A mature woman does not need a performance, she needs intrigue. Marcus Aurelius practiced restraint in speech. He reminded himself that unnecessary words weaken presence. A disciplined man does not rush to fill silence, he lets moments breathe. Silence handled calmly signals confidence. When Daniel begins speaking less, something shifts. Instead of oversharing, he gives fragments. Instead of long explanations, he gives strong, precise statements. When Laura teases him lightly, he smiles instead of defending. He stops narrating himself. And here's the deeper psychology, my friend. When you overspeak, you subconsciously signal that you need validation. You try to control her perception through volume. But when you speak less, you project that you are comfortable not being fully understood immediately. That comfort is powerful. Laura starts asking more questions. She starts investing effort, because now there is something to uncover. Older men who understand attraction don't dominate the conversation, they guide it. They leave space for imagination to operate. They understand that tension lives in what is unsaid. If you constantly explain your value, you diminish it. If you let her discover it gradually, you magnify it. Daniel didn't become silent and cold. He became measured, intentional, strategic with his words. And that's the first shift. If this hits home, drop this in the comments. I speak with intent. Stay with me, because next we're breaking down the hidden trigger women feel before they even decide they're attracted. And that's where the real shift begins. Number 2. Words that shift attraction. Let's go deeper, folks. Attraction does not shift because you talked longer. It shifts because you triggered something. Most men believe attraction is logical. If I say the right facts, show my value, explain my intentions, clearly she will understand and respond. But attraction does not begin in logic. It begins in emotion, and emotion is shaped by language. Certain words activate imagination. Certain words add weight. Certain words create tension without aggression. That's the difference between talking at her and moving her. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Words influence thought. Thought shapes feeling. Feeling creates attachment. When you understand that chain, you stop speaking casually. You start speaking deliberately. Most men use descriptive language. I had a good trip. That restaurant was nice. I enjoy spending time with you. These statements are safe. They are factual. And they are forgettable. Words that shift attraction create experience. When you say, imagine walking into that place with the music low and the lights just right, you are no longer sharing information. You are guiding her mind. Her brain begins constructing the scene. And when she constructs the scene, she feels it. That feeling becomes associated with you. That's the shift. Older men who understand psychology don't overpower conversations. They insert subtle triggers. They understand that imagination intensifies emotion far more than explanation. Now let's look at the second layer, authority. There's another category of words that change attraction. Words that give structure. Words that provide reason. Words that anchor intention. When you add a reason to a statement, even a simple one, the message gains weight. Let's grab coffee because there's something I think you'd appreciate. That word because gives direction. It signals intention. It communicates that your suggestion isn't random. Epictetus taught that we must examine the impressions we receive and respond with reason. When your words carry reason, they carry gravity. And gravity is attractive. Most men speak impulsively. They say what feels right in the moment. But the Stoic man chooses language carefully. He does not ramble, he selects. Here's the deeper psychology, my friend. Imagination stimulates curiosity. Reason stimulates trust. When you combine curiosity and trust, attraction stabilizes. Curiosity creates tension. Trust creates safety. That balance is powerful. When a woman feels curiosity without safety, she feels anxiety. When she feels safety without curiosity, she feels boredom. The right words create both. And here's something subtle. Timing matters. You do not overuse these words. You insert them naturally, calmly, without exaggeration. You don't say, imagine us married in 10 years. That's pressure. You say, imagine you there. You'd notice details most people miss. That's intrigue. You don't say, because I'm different from other men. That's defensive. You say, because I pay attention. Short, grounded. Marcus Aurelius practiced restraint and clarity in speech. Not dramatic language, not excessive language, precise language. Words that shift attraction are not loud, they are intentional. If this resonates, drop this in the comments. I speak with precision. Stick with me because next we're stepping into the first powerful word that quietly enters her mind and makes her see you differently. Number 3. Say imagine. Spark desire. Now we get to the first word, folks, and before you roll your eyes, stay with me. The word is imagine. Simple, ordinary, almost too basic, but used correctly it changes everything. Most men speak in facts. I went to Italy. That restaurant was great. You'd like my hometown. That kind of language reports information. It keeps the conversation flat. The moment you say, imagine, you stop reporting and start directing. You enter her mind. Let me show you what this looks like in real life. Michael is 59, semi-retired, owns a small logistics company in Seattle. He's dating Claire, 54, cultured, well-traveled, emotionally perceptive. They're talking about travel over dinner. Old version of Michael says, I took a train through Switzerland once. It was beautiful, nice, safe, forgettable. Instead, Michael pauses slightly and says, imagine you're on that train, mountains outside the window, quiet cabin, just the sound of the tracks. Now something shifts. Claire's eyes narrow slightly. She's not just listening, she's picturing it. That's the difference. When you say, imagine, you create a mental experience, and the brain responds to imagined experience in ways similar to real ones. Emotion activates, sensation activates, curiosity activates. And here's the key, my friend. When she feels something during that moment, her brain links that feeling to you. Michael continues calmly. Imagine us getting off in a small town where no one's rushing. He doesn't overdo it. He doesn't force romance. He simply opens a doorway. Claire smiles. That actually sounds amazing. Notice what happened. He didn't sell himself. He sold a scene. Older men who understand attraction know that women connect through emotional imagery. They don't need volume. They need experience. Now here's where many men go wrong. They use imagine in a way that feels pressured. Imagine us together forever. That's heavy. That's premature. The key is light, intriguing imagery. Another example. Michael and Claire are talking about food. Instead of saying, you'd like this restaurant, he says, imagine walking into a place where they know your name and bring your favorite wine without asking. Now he's creating exclusivity, warmth, familiarity. Marcus Aurelius understood that perception shapes experience. When you guide perception, you guide emotion. And when you guide emotion calmly, you guide attraction. Imagine works because it shifts the frame from conversation to participation. She is no longer evaluating you from the outside. She is inside the experience with you. That's intimacy without touch. It also reveals confidence. You assume she will be part of the scene. You don't ask, would you want to? You paint it as natural. Michael doesn't stare intensely. He doesn't lean too close. He keeps his tone steady, controlled. That control makes the imagery safe. And here's the subtle sexual polarity layer. When you invite her into a shared mental space, you create tension without physical escalation. It's suggestive without being explicit, strong without being aggressive. If this resonates, drop this in the comments. I spark imagination. Stay tuned, because next we're breaking down how to add weight to your words so they don't just spark desire, they anchor it. Number 4. Create scenes in her mind. Now we take the word imagine one level deeper, folks. It's not enough to say it. You have to use it with precision, because the real power is not in the word itself. It's in the scene you create. Most men describe. Very few men direct experience. When you describe something casually, you stay outside of her emotions. When you create a scene, you pull her into a moment that doesn't even exist yet. And that's where desire quietly starts building. Let's break this down clearly. A flat statement sounds like this. That beach in California is beautiful, informational, safe, forgettable. A scene sounds like this. Imagine standing barefoot there at sunset, the air cooling down, waves just loud enough that you have to lean in closer to hear each other. Now you've done 3 things. You activated her senses. You placed yourself in proximity. You created intimacy without touching her. That is controlled tension. Marcus Aurelius wrote that our life is shaped by our perceptions. When you guide someone's perception, you guide their emotional response, not through force, through suggestion. Scenes work because they stimulate sensory imagination. Sight, sound, temperature, movement. The more subtle detail you add, the more her mind fills in the rest. And here's the key, my friend. You do not overwhelm the scene. You give just enough detail to spark it. Let her imagination finish the work. Older men who understand attraction know that women bond through experience. If she feels something while talking to you, even if it's imagined, that feeling becomes associated with your presence. This is not manipulation. It's emotional intelligence. Now let's talk structure. A strong scene has 3 elements. First, setting. Where are you? Beach, train, small cafe, mountain trail. Second, sensory cue. Warm air, low music, quiet streets, rain on glass. Third, subtle shared positioning. You'd notice, you'd laugh at. That shared positioning builds psychological closeness. Epictetus taught that impressions enter the mind constantly, and it is our task to examine them. When you introduce a vivid scene, you create an impression. If that impression carries warmth, intrigue, or calm tension, it leaves a trace. And traces matter. Here's another example of subtle power. Instead of saying, "You'd like my favorite wine bar," you say, "Imagine walking into a place where the lights are low, the music's smooth, and you don't feel rushed." Notice what you did. You didn't talk about yourself. You talked about her experience. Attraction deepens when she feels considered, not impressed. And here's where discipline comes in. Your tone must remain calm, measured, no overexcitement. The more grounded you are, the more safe the scene feels. Intensity delivered calmly is magnetic. If you want to master this level of communication consistently, not just in dating but in leadership and life, join the membership. Inside, we go deeper into Stoic mindset training, precision language, and emotional composure. Because power in relationships always begins with power over yourself. Creating scenes is not about fantasy, it's about controlled imagination. If this resonates, drop this in the comments. I create tension. Let's keep going, because the next word adds weight to everything you say, and without it, imagination fades. Number 5. Make her feel the future. Now we take imagination one step further, folks. It's one thing to create a scene, it's another thing to let her feel herself inside your future. That's where attachment quietly begins. Most men talk about what they've done. Older, grounded men subtly project forward, not in a needy way, not in a heavy way, but in a calm, confident assumption that life with them has direction, and direction is attractive. Let me show you what this looks like. Stephen is 61, owns a chain of auto repair shops in Arizona. Stable, disciplined, built his life from scratch. He's dating Rachel, 55, divorced, emotionally intelligent, cautious but curious. They're talking about hobbies. Rachel mentions she's always wanted to learn how to sail, but never made time for it. Stephen could say, "That's cool, I've sailed before." Instead, he says, "Imagine a quiet Saturday morning on the water. No rush, just wind and sun. You'd probably pick it up faster than most." Pause. Then he adds calmly, "I could see you loving that." Now something subtle shifts. He's not promising marriage. He's not making grand declarations, but he's placing her into a possible shared experience that feels grounded, adult, real. Rachel doesn't just hear about sailing, she briefly feels it. And more importantly, she feels herself beside him in that future moment. That's powerful. When a woman can picture herself in your life, you stop being a conversation and start becoming a possibility. Most men either avoid future framing out of fear, or they overdo it too early. We should travel the world together. Too much, too fast. That creates pressure. The key is light projection. Stephen later says, "You'd fit right in at my friend's annual wine trip. You have that energy." Notice the phrasing, "you'd fit right in." That implies inclusion without desperation. Marcus Aurelius wrote about acting in accordance with nature and purpose. When your life has structure, you can invite someone into it naturally. You are not building a fantasy. You are extending a path you're already walking. That's what makes it safe. Here's the psychological layer, my friend. Imagination activates emotion. Future framing activates attachment. When she begins to associate you with upcoming experiences, her brain starts integrating you into her forward thinking. And once someone appears in your mental future, detaching becomes harder. Stephen never says, "I hope this works out." He doesn't seek reassurance. He projects calmly. At dinner one evening he says, "There's a jazz festival in the fall you'd appreciate." The kind of music you don't just hear, you feel. He doesn't ask for permission to include her. He assumes compatibility. That assumption communicates confidence. Rachel begins initiating more, asking questions, suggesting ideas, because now she sees space for herself in his world. Here's the balance you must maintain. The projection must match your stability. If your life is chaotic, future framing feels fake. If your life is structured, it feels natural. Epictetus taught that we should focus on what is within our control. Your discipline, your direction, your values. When those are firm, inviting someone into your future feels steady, not needy. Make her feel the future without forcing it. If this resonates, drop this in the comments. I lead the future. Stay with me, because next we're adding the second word that gives your projections authority and weight, and without it, imagination fades too quickly. Number 6. Because builds instant authority. Now we move to the second word, folks, and this one is even more powerful when used correctly. The word is because. It sounds simple, almost too ordinary to matter. But psychologically, it changes how your message lands. Most men make statements. "Let's get coffee. You should try this place. I like spending time with you." These are fine, but they float. They have no weight. The moment you add because the sentence gains structure, it gains direction, it gains authority. "Let's get coffee because there's something I want to show you." "I like spending time with you because you notice things most people miss." Feel the difference. When you say because, you signal intention. You communicate that your words are not random. They are grounded in reason. Epictetus taught that we must not speak without examining our impressions. When you attach a reason to your statement, you show that you have examined it, that you are deliberate. Deliberate men feel stable. Here's what happens psychologically. The human brain is wired to respond to reasons, even simple ones. When you hear, because your mind relaxes, it feels structure, it feels logic, and logic builds trust. Now, let's connect this to attraction. Imagination sparks desire, because anchors it. If you say, "Imagine us exploring that city," you create emotion. But when you say, "Imagine us exploring that city," because I know you'd appreciate the small details, you add personalization and intent. You are not just painting a fantasy, you are positioning her within it for a reason. That reason creates depth. Marcus Aurelius valued clarity. He avoided empty speech. When you use because intentionally, you avoid sounding vague. You sound grounded. And grounded authority is attractive. Most men over-explain. That's weakness. But adding one clear reason is not over-explaining. It's precision. You don't need paragraphs. You need direction. "Come with me, because you'll enjoy this." Short, confident. No begging. "Stay a little longer because I'm not finished hearing that story." Calm, direct, assured. Notice the tone. There's no apology, no uncertainty. The reason is delivered as fact, not as a request for validation. Here's another layer. Because also shows attention. When you say, "I thought of you because you mentioned you love quiet places," you demonstrate listening. That creates emotional safety. Safety deepens attraction. Older men who understand timing use because sparingly. They don't attach it to everything. They use it when they want to add weight. Used correctly because signals leadership. It implies you have a framework, that you are not reacting impulsively. Epictetus said that the wise man acts with reason, not emotion alone, because reflects reason. And when imagination is combined with reason, you create tension plus trust. Tension without trust feels unstable. Trust without tension feels dull, because gives your words backbone. But here's the warning, my friend. Do not use because to justify yourself. That weakens you. Wrong. I'm busy because I have so much going on. Defensive. Right, I'm tied up because I don't break commitments. Grounded. See the difference? Authority comes from certainty, not length. If this resonates, drop this in the comments. I speak with reason. Stick around, because next we're combining both words together. And when you blend imagination with authority, attraction shifts fast. Number 7. Give desire a reason. Now we bring both words together, folks. Imagination creates desire, because gives that desire a reason to stay. This is where most men fall short. They spark emotion, but they don't anchor it. Or they give logic, but they don't ignite feeling. When you combine both, attraction deepens and stabilizes. Let me show you how this plays out in real life. Anthony is 58, owns a boutique architecture firm in San Diego. Confident, measured, doesn't talk too much. He's dating Melissa, 53, independent, socially experienced, cautious but curious. One evening, they're walking along the harbor after dinner. The air is cool, lights reflecting off the water. Anthony doesn't say something generic like, "This is nice." Instead, he says calmly, "Imagine sitting out here later this summer when the nights are warmer." She smiles slightly. She can see it. Then he adds, without overdoing it, "Because you strike me as someone who actually appreciates quiet moments like this." Now the shift happens. The first part activated imagination. The second part personalized it. He didn't just invite her into a scene. He attached meaning to her presence inside it. That's powerful. Melissa feels seen, not flattered, not chased. Seen. Desire deepens when it feels intentional. Most men make one of two mistakes. They say, "I like being with you," flat. Or they say, "You're amazing," generic. Anthony says instead, "I like being around you because you don't rush conversations." Now he's giving her a reason tied to behavior. That reason communicates observation, attention, depth. Marcus Aurelius wrote that we should speak only what is necessary and in accordance with nature. When you give desire a reason, you are not exaggerating emotion, you are clarifying it. Clarity builds trust. Here's another moment. Melissa jokes that she's bad at cooking. Anthony could laugh it off. Instead, he says, "Imagine us trying to cook something complicated and completely failing." She laughs. Then he adds, "Because I think you'd make it fun even if it burned." Again, emotion plus reason. He's not promising anything heavy. He's layering warmth with logic, light tension with stability. And here's the psychology, my friend. When a woman feels desire without explanation, it can feel unstable. When she feels desire with a reason attached, it feels grounded. Reason makes emotion safer. Epictetus emphasized examining impressions before accepting them. When you give her a reason for why you're drawn to her, you reduce ambiguity. You make the attraction feel earned, not random. Anthony never over-explains. He doesn't list 10 reasons. One precise reason is enough. You handle pressure well. You listen differently. You don't need attention to feel confident. Short, calm, direct. Each reason builds a foundation under the desire. Now notice something subtle. Anthony's tone never changes. He doesn't lean forward dramatically. He doesn't seek validation after speaking. He simply states and continues. That steadiness reinforces authority. Melissa starts leaning in more, not because he begged, but because he made attraction feel intentional. That's the key. If this resonates, drop this in the comments. I give meaning. Stay with me, because next we're refining this even further. We're going to show how curiosity and clarity together create lasting fascination. Number 8. Curiosity turns into craving. Now we step into something deeper, folks. Curiosity is the spark. Craving is the fire. Most men are capable of creating a little curiosity, a clever comment, a confident pause. a subtle imagine. That's enough to make her lean in slightly. But curiosity alone is fragile. If it isn't reinforced, it fades. The shift happens when curiosity is paired with clarity, when imagination is paired with reason, when emotional intrigue is anchored by stability. That combination turns momentary interest into lasting craving. Here's the psychology behind it. Curiosity activates her mind. She wonders, she leans in, she wants to know more. But the human brain does not crave chaos, it craves resolution. When curiosity is unresolved but feels safe, it intensifies. Marcus Aurelius spoke about governing impressions instead of being ruled by them. When you deliberately create curiosity and then calmly structure it, you control the emotional tempo. Tempo matters. If you flood her with imagery and attention, curiosity dies. If you create tension and then disappear emotionally, anxiety replaces attraction. But when you create a scene and then calmly anchor it with intention, her nervous system stays engaged without feeling unstable. Let's break it down clearly. You say, imagine the two of us in a small mountain town, no distractions. Curiosity sparks. Then you add, because you seem like someone who values space to actually think. Now you've personalized it, grounded it, made it intentional. Her mind doesn't just wander, it attaches. That attachment is subtle at first, but repetition builds depth. Older men who understand this don't chase reactions. They observe responses. They notice when her eyes hold a second longer, when her breathing shifts, when she asks a follow-up question instead of giving a polite answer. That's the moment you slow down, not speed up. Craving builds in space. Epictetus taught that freedom comes from self-command. When you are not desperate for immediate feedback, you can allow tension to breathe. That breathing room intensifies desire. Most men sabotage curiosity by oversharing. They create an intriguing idea and then immediately explain it fully. They remove the mystery. They resolve the tension too fast. Restraint keeps curiosity alive. And here's the important distinction, my friend. Curiosity that feels unsafe creates avoidance. Curiosity that feels anchored creates longing. That anchor is your steadiness. If your tone is rushed, if your body language is eager, if your eyes search for approval, curiosity collapses into evaluation. But if your tone is calm, your posture steady, and your delivery measured, curiosity evolves into craving, because now she associates intrigue with safety. Safety allows repetition. Repetition builds attachment. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul becomes colored by its habitual thoughts. If you consistently create positive emotional imagery that feels grounded and intentional, her habitual thoughts begin to include you. She starts replaying moments, reimagining scenes, filling in details on her own. That's when attraction becomes self-generating. You are no longer performing, you are present. Curiosity turns into craving when she begins to anticipate the next interaction before it even happens. And anticipation is powerful. If this resonates, drop this in the comments. I create intrigue. Stay with me, because next we're going to combine imagination and certainty in a way that makes fascination last far beyond the conversation. Number 9. Blend fantasy with certainty. Here is the move most men never master, folks. They can create fantasy, but they cannot hold certainty. Or they can sound certain, but they kill the fantasy. The rare man blends both, and that is what makes a mature woman feel pulled in and safe at the same time. Fantasy is the picture. Certainty is the posture behind the picture. Take Brian, 60, a calm project manager in Raleigh, and Denise, 56, a senior nurse who has heard every smooth line in her life. They are having dinner, and the vibe is good. But Brian does not try to win her with compliments. He slows down. He looks at her like he already belongs in his own skin. He says, "Imagine we slip out of town for one night. Quiet hotel. Late breakfast. No one asking anything from us." Denise smiles because her mind is now in a scene. Then Brian adds one sentence that changes the temperature. Because you deserve a place to exhale. That is the blend. He did not just daydream. He gave the fantasy a reason that feels true. And he delivered it with calm certainty, not with excitement, not with a needy grin, not waiting for her to approve it. Most men mess this up by either overselling or over-explaining. They say, "Imagine us in Paris," and then they talk for 5 minutes trying to force the feeling. Or they say, "I want to take you out because I am serious," and it feels like a pitch. Fantasy without certainty feels like chatter. Certainty without fantasy feels like a contract. Brian keeps it clean. After he speaks, he returns to the moment. He takes a sip. He asks Denise a real question. He stays grounded. That quiet confidence is what makes the scene stick in her head. Notice his body language. He does not lean forward like he is begging. His shoulders stay relaxed. His voice stays low and steady. He does not rush to fill the silence. He lets her sit inside the image. That pause is where craving starts. Stoicism backs this up. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that a man's power is in his mind and in his conduct. Your words matter, but your state matters more. When your state is steady, your fantasy feels safe. When your state is shaky, your fantasy feels like pressure. Here is another example of the blend. Later, Denise mentions she loves live music but hates crowded places. Brian says, "Imagine a small jazz bar, 2 drinks and a table in the back." Then he anchors it, "Because you like depth, not noise." Again, the fantasy creates curiosity, and the reason creates trust. He does it again when she talks about stress at work. "Imagine coming home, shoes off, and a meal." Then, "Because you carry enough for everyone." She feels understood, and the picture feels believable. That is how fascination lasts. You give her a picture she can feel, and you give her a reason she can respect. You do it in short bursts, not long speeches. You let her imagination finish the rest, and you never chase her reaction. You stay certain, even in silence. If you want to talk like a man with presence, not a man asking for approval, comment this: "I hold steady." Stay with me, because the final piece is how to speak less while making her feel more, and it ties everything together. Number 10. 2 words, lasting fascination. Now we close this out the right way, folks. Not with a trick, not with hype, with clarity. 2 words. Imagine. Because, on the surface they look simple, almost too simple to matter. But used with discipline, timing, and emotional control, they separate the man who talks from the man who lingers in her mind. Let's step into this properly. Fascination is not created by volume. It's not created by constant texting. It's not created by trying to impress her with achievements or stories. Fascination is created when a woman feels something in your presence that continues after you're gone. That's the key. Take Leonard's 64 semi-retired lives in Scottsdale. Structured life. Early mornings, gym, golf, calm routine. He's dating Karen, 59, socially sharp, used to confident men. She doesn't respond to noise. She responds to presence. Leonard doesn't overwhelm her with future talk. He doesn't rush emotional intimacy. One evening after dinner, as they're walking slowly back to their cars, he says quietly, "Imagine us escaping somewhere warm in the middle of winter." She smiles, tempting. He doesn't jump on the reaction. He doesn't oversell it. He simply adds steady tone. Because life's too short to stay predictable. Then he shifts the conversation. That's it. 2 lines, calm delivery, no performance. But Karen thinks about it later. Because he didn't push it. He planted it. Here's what most men miss. Imagination opens the emotional door because locks meaning behind it. When you say imagine, you activate her mind. When you say because, you communicate intention. Intention creates weight. Weight creates depth. Depth creates fascination. Leonard doesn't look for validation after speaking. He doesn't ask, "Would you actually do that?" He doesn't chase reassurance. His body language stays relaxed. Shoulders down. Breathing steady. Eye contact controlled. That certainty is what makes the fantasy feel safe. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a man's character is revealed in how he governs himself. Your words mean nothing if your state is unstable, but when your state is calm and deliberate, even simple language carries gravity. Fascination builds when three elements align. First, emotional imagery. Second, grounded reasoning. Third, internal steadiness. Without steadiness, imagination feels manipulative. Without imagination, reasoning feels dull. Blend them, and you create tension with safety. Leonard does it again later in a different moment. Karen talks about how busy her work schedule is. He says, imagine turning your phone off for an entire weekend. Pause. Then, because you deserve silence sometimes. That hits deeper than a compliment. He didn't say, she's beautiful. He didn't say, she's amazing. He connected desire to relief, fantasy to purpose. That's mature attraction. Over time, Karen begins referencing his ideas. That winter escape you mentioned, now she's participating. Now she's stepping into the picture he painted. That's when fascination becomes mutual. And here's the final truth, my friend. These words only work when you are not using them to compensate for insecurity. If you're still chasing approval, they will feel forced. If you're grounded, they will feel natural. 2 words, imagine, because, used lightly, used precisely, used from a place of internal strength. That's how older men create fascination that doesn't fade when the conversation ends. That's how you move from interesting to unforgettable. Today we broke down something most men overlook. Not confidence tricks, not flashy lines. 2 simple words that shift the entire emotional dynamic. We talked about why most men speak too much and kill tension, how imagination activates emotion, how adding a clear reason builds authority, how curiosity turns into craving, and how blending fantasy with certainty creates lasting fascination. This isn't about manipulation, it's about precision, emotional intelligence, and delivering your words from a place of calm, stoic control. If you want to master this level of communication and internal discipline, consistently join the membership. That's where we go deeper into mindset training, emotional composure, and masculine presence. And if this sharpened your awareness, subscribe to the channel. We're building steady, powerful men here every day. Thank you for being here, folks. I respect your time. I'll see you tomorrow.